What's going on, YouTube? I'm AJ, and this is my gun review, and today we're going to be reviewing a second example of an Akai Ripsaw, this one being my personal example. So, after my first review back in February of the Ripsaw, quite simply, I fell in love with that gun. It really nailed down a very specific set of wants that I was looking for in a range pistol, specifically being lightweight, very nimble, handled quickly, and heavily compensated. Now, the overall layout of this pistol is going to be a overall commander length, so 4.25 inch length, consisting of about a 3.6 inch barrel and a compensator. Then we have a full length steel dust cover and an MJD grip module. Now, I placed my order for this pistol back in February after reaching out to Akai, and I'll note that was a bit of a risk because I was aware of 3 other Ripsaws, and all 3 of them had had problems upon receipt. Now, they all eventually got sorted out and worked fine, but batting 0% over 3 examples didn't inspire the most confidence. That said, I know Akai's been around for a long time, and, I told myself it was probably a matter of sorting out a new model in the product line. So I took the risk, I gave it a shot, and I received the pistol in July, which was about a 6-month wait, which is going to be right on cue with what they advised the ETA when I initially placed my order. Now, I would love to tell you that I received the pistol and everything was great, but that would be a lie. So, shortly after unpackaging the pistol, the disappointment began to set in. I racked the slide, and I can best describe it feeling like the slide was going over railroad tracks. So, initially, I attributed this to the disconnector. Later, I found, I believe it was going to be more of a matter of the barrel fit in the gun, specifically the barrel bump. And then from there, several other little issues culminating in going to the range where the gun was absolutely plagued with malfunctions. Everything from fail to fire, fail to feed, the firing pin was sticking, which turned out to be a problem related to the optic plate. The thing was a mess. Now, I'll say there's really nothing worse than when somebody gets a pistol and they have problems and they go straight to the internet to complain instead of reaching out to the manufacturer and letting them sort it out, or at least giving them the opportunity, because though we want everything to be perfect right out of the box, that's unfortunately not always the case. So that's exactly what I did. I reached out to Akai and said, hey, here's what's going on with the pistol. It probably needs to take a trip home. Based on my experience, here's what I believe the issues are. To which they promptly responded that that was weird and that they'd fired 50 rounds through the pistol and it worked just fine for them. That's probably the wrong answer. Now, to their credit, they did work with me on getting the optic plate replaced. The original one was machined out of spec, and ultimately that did correct probably 85% of the malfunctions the gun was having, but that still leaves 15% of malfunctions in the gun not working properly. So, fortunately for me, I do have a buddy in the industry that happens to be one of the best 2011 builders on the planet. I reached out to him and was like, hey, buddy, need a favor. So he said, yeah, go ahead and send the pistol over to me. I'll take a look at it. And I must say, upon him taking a look at it, I was a little embarrassed with the results. The gun was a mess. So the barrel was link riding, barrel bumping. The chamber was not properly reamed. The feed ramp was rough. The extractor wasn't tuned. The ignition was drop-in parts. Because of the poorly fit barrel, it was causing seizing on the slide stop pin. It just was not good. Now, fortunately, he was able to get it rectified, send it back, nicely tuned, well-working pistol. I was able to go out to the range, and what I'll give you as far as the range portion for this in a little bit is going to be based upon the pistol once it was repaired. Because, well, in short, if I did it prior to repair, it would go something like, but does it shoot? No. Now, with that said, let's take it over to the tabletop. I'm going to give you guys a little bit closer look at what's going on with the pistol now. address some of the problems the pistol had initially, and then take it over the range, and we'll wrap it up with final thoughts. All right, so the Akai Ripsaw. So what we have is a 4¼ overall length, so commander size, including the compensator, consisting of a 3.6-inch barrel with the large, very unique compensator that I must say is one of the most effective I've ever used. I was initially skeptical at how this comp would work because it does deviate from how I usually understand compensators working, but I can assure you it is nothing short of phenomenal. It's a cone comp, so you can see the cone right here over a cart barrel. And we have a little Glock front backup iron sight. You can see the guide rod is a traditional design that requires a paperclip for takedown. This gun uses a cart barrel, which I was excited to see that Akai had changed over to cart barrels, though I probably should have looked a little bit closer at their lawsuit with KKM. So, despite Cart making what I believe are some of the best barrels in the industry, this one was exceptionally poorly fit. It had barrel bump, it was link riding, the feed ramp was very rough, and the chamber hadn't been reamed properly. So, barrel was a complete mess. On top of that, because of the poorly fit barrel, the slide stop was basically wedged in place, so it was very difficult to actually lock back the slide. It did not have slide lock on last round, and to actually get the slide stop out of the frame required essentially punching it from the other side. So that was a mess. Fortunately, my friend was able to fit the barrel properly, polish up the feed ramp, and make things right again. Now, as far as design, I really like Akai's serrations. They go all the way over the top, finished matte on the inside with a little bit of polish on the sides, creating a nice kind of contrast. We have a tri-top slide, and overall it is very lightweight. Also now has a Marvel disconnector cut. When I first got this pistol, racking the slide sounded like, and felt like, the slide was going over railroad tracks, which I initially attributed to the disconnector, though that seemed odd to me, being that this uses EGW ignition parts. I think what the issue actually was had more to do with the barrel fit and the barrel bump. But now, very nice. Slide to frame fit is okay. So there is a little bit of wobble up front. Back is fairly secure. It's not horrible, but again, it's coming in at a price point where there really shouldn't be any movement. And then we move back to the optic plate. And I must say, the optic plate on this gun has been the bane of my existence. It's just a mess, and the problem starts with the overall design, in that the optic plate is secured by 3 screws that go right down the middle and drive the holes directly into the firing pin channel. Now, if your screws are a little bit too long, since they have to be trimmed down to size, it interferes with the firing pin, which causes the firing pin to stick, which adds to malfunctions. Now, my first plate was actually a little bit out of spec, so it was wobbly. It could not be tightened properly. And Akai was good about replacing the plate. When they got another one machined, they sent it out, and once the plate was fitted correctly, that resolved 75 to 90% of the malfunctions I was having with the pistol. But again, ultimately my issue is there are so many good plate designs that do not hinder reliability, let alone even leave an opportunity for reliability to be affected, that this plate really doesn't offer anything special that justifies the issues in which it causes. On top of that, you don't have any front or rear support on the optic, just the recoil lugs on the inside. Outside of that, it's a decent looking piece, but again, I can't say I'm a fan of this design. Moving over to the frame, it's a full-length dust cover steel frame. To my frustration, the rail slots do not seem to be in the traditional locations, so I actually could not fit an X300 on this gun, hence why we have a TLR1 on here. Again, not sure why, but is what it is. Other than the sticking problem with the slide stop, this is a EGW piece, large paddle, which they did fit at my request, instead of a EGW government profile. Overall, I really like the slide stop. Nice paddle, plenty of room to get it underneath for lockback, and now that it's been tuned properly, is exactly what I like. Thumb safety is a Nighthawk piece, which again just tends to be my favorite thumb safety. Works with the shape of my hand. Nicely dehorned on the back. Action is positive. No wiggle. This is a single side one that I happen to have laying around, and overall is very good. Ignition components are EGW lightweight, which tend to be solid. As the gun came, the parts were essentially drop-in. They've been fine-tuned a bit by my friend since. Akai has a preference for stainless parts, so you can see the extractor has been left in the white as stainless. Again, this is a piece that had to be tuned by my friend, as initially it was fitted as just a drop-in piece with no additional tuning. So then we get to the beaver tail. Now, this is a Chile E2 piece. It is not a functional grip safety, and so you're probably confused as to why it has a memory bump on it. And the reason is, instead of using a Chile L2, which would have been appropriate for a polymer grip module, they used the E2, which is the enhanced ergonomic backstrap, and then they tried to kind of grind it down to make it sort of fit. And that might be okay for a person building their first ever 2011, but Akai's been in the game for quite a while. And they've built 2011s using polymer grip modules, so they know better than this. And really, this is an oversight and general laziness, which should not be considered acceptable at this price point. It's not the end of the world. It doesn't affect overall function or performance. It keeps the gun from being as good as it could be if they had used the correct part. Now, the grip module is an MJD grip that I had textured by Elusive Texture. He happens to be probably my favorite in the stippling business right now. His turnaround time is amazing, but also his texture is amazing. So this is his full wrap aggressive Cyclone. And if you want a very aggressive polymer grip module, this is the choice. We also have an undercut with some texture here. The grip is nothing short of phenomenal. Elusive is the man. Magwell is just an MJD piece, which I really like their magwells and blend absolutely perfectly with the grip. Nothing but high praise for this piece. Moving up to the mag catch, it's a Dawson piece that has been checkered by Akai. It's well tuned, and I do appreciate the additional texturing on the piece. I think, or I wish, more 2011 builders would do this. So kudos to Akai there. And then we get to the trigger. So now when I commissioned the build, I asked if they could use an infinity trigger, just because I prefer the checkered face on them. And Akai stated that they don't really like the infinity triggers because the bow is too thin. So I said that was fine and let them use whatever their trigger shoe of choice was. And of course, it was an Atlas trigger shoe. And as you guys know, I really hate Atlas trigger shoes. They're too slippery. So went ahead and swapped this out for the Infinity trigger shoe that I originally wanted. And overall, out of the box, the trigger pull was pretty nice from Akai, right around 2 pounds. It has since been modified by my friend, brought up to about 2.5 pounds, which just tends to be my preference. So we have a short take up, very crisp break, reset, very immediate, and nice break. Overall, just a phenomenal trigger in this gun now, and a very fast trigger. So there you have it. That is my Akai Ripsaw.
But does it shoot? That it does. Despite all the other nonsense, this is one of the best shooting guns I've ever used. It's not just that it's always in contention for setting a PR on any given drill. It's the effortless nature in which it's able to do it that is so impressive. The gun truly feels like an extension of my own hand. It's the combination of lightweight, nimble handling, and above all else, incredible tracking that makes this gun so good. It's got an almost otherworldly ability to stack rounds on top of each other, no matter the speed. And the aforementioned features make it one of the best plate rack guns I've ever used. But it's not just a close-up plate gun. It was a beast from the 52. Again, one of my favorite all-around shooters I've ever used.
All right, final thoughts on the Akai. So now that it's sorted, it really is an awesome firing pistol, which is why I purchased it in the first place and took the risk on it in the first place. The compensator is probably the single best carry comp I've ever used. I'm yet to find another pistol that just stacks rounds on top of each other in the manner which this does. When it comes to laying down a 1-2 on a pair of plates, this thing's an absolute demon. The overall format of it is so unique in that you're getting a commander overall size with a compensator and government length stroke and a lightweight package that shoots so well. Akai would really have a gem here if they could sort out their quality control issues. But in its current state, I would liken it to something like a clapped out Fox body with a junkyard LS swap and an eBay turbo kit. It's not quality, but it'll gap some Ferraris. And so then that brings me to whether or not I recommend this pistol. And honestly, I don't think I can responsibly recommend this pistol to most people. If you need a gun to work right out of the box and you don't want to deal with hassle, this probably isn't the way to go. Now, if you're in a situation where you can buy this pistol, similar to something like a Prodigy, where you're accepting that it's probably going to be a project gun, even though it costs the same as an Atlas, then it has a ton of potential, a very unique shooting experience, and can certainly be an absolute demon at the range. But that's a hard sell, especially with so many strong offerings at this price point right now. Simply put, Akai needs to do better than this. And understand, I took a while before making this video because I didn't want this video to just come off as a roast of Akai. That's not the goal of this channel. Obviously, we have to point out the negative along with the good. And ultimately, what I want is these manufacturers to do better. So, in its current form, this is an amazing shooting pistol. Still one of the best I've used. But, yeah, I'd like to see better from Akai. That's what I got for you guys. As always, please like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.